Hello again, it's June here. Forgive my wet hair, I just had a shower a while ago. Anyway, yeah, I just have a little review to do. I'm just going to straighten myself up here, I'm all over the place. Little review, and it is for the Lauren Luke makeup brushes, which became available recently, and I sort of toyed with buying them, but I am a brush fanatic. I just can't resist it. Once I see a new set of brushes, if they look decent, I'm very anxious to try them. And also I do like reviewing them because I have a lot of brushes. I know certainly the difference in quality between them, and people had asked me, I had subscribers did ask me if I'd try these, particularly after my last review on the Samantha Chapman brushes, which I'm continuing to really enjoy using, by the way. So I ordered these. You can order the full set from laurenluke.com, and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 brushes. 7? Yeah, 7 brushes for, I think it's £70 or something, in around that price. So they obviously ship internationally, so they can be got from there. So when you open this brush set up, it is obvious immediately that some of these are definitely copies of MAC brushes. And so I'm going to compare them directly to the brushes that they're supposed to emulate, and I will tell you what I think. I have used them all several times. I've washed them, so I've been through the full sort of use cycle with these brushes a couple of times, and so I'll tell you exactly what I think of them. I paid for them myself, and so I'm totally impartial. Okay, so first of all, starting with the smallest brush here, this is the angled brow brush, I suppose you call it, a brow brush or eyeliner brush. And this is, you know, very standard. I mean, look, there are a couple of MAC brushes like that. This is a 266, you know, they are similar. The 266 is natural bristles, I think. Or maybe, no, it's synthetic. I think it's synthetic. It's a stiffer brush. This one, the Lauren Luke one, is a stiffer brush. Look, they're all very similar, so I wouldn't say, you know, there's any difference between them. They're all pretty good, and they all do the same thing. So that's that one. I don't use them that much anyway. Now, on to the other eye brushes. This is the I don't know what this is called, shader brush or something, but you can see instantly by looking at this brush what it's supposed to be reminiscent of, and that's the MAC 217. Now there's a 217, and there's the Lauren Luke version there. They all have lovely, very nice black handles, very nice pink ferrules, so they do look good. There's the two brushes there compared side by side, and there they are from the side as well. So they are very similar, very similar. Now what would I say differentiates them? First of all, the price. This is much more expensive than this, obviously. This brush here, the MAC 217, is a teeny bit denser. It definitely has more hair than this one. It's, you know, I mean, if I closed my eyes, could I tell the difference between them? Possibly. It's very subtle. There is a slightly denser feel to this brush than this one. The bristles are almost identical in length. The shape of the brush is almost identical, and they're made of the same type of hair. It's white goat hair. What I noticed about these brushes, this brush, was that in this one, and it's probably just something that I've got in this particular brush, there is a couple of very scratchy hairs in this brush. So I have to use it on one side. Like if I use one side of the brush, I'll feel it scratching me. I have to turn it over, and the other side is lovely and very soft. So it's probably just, I've just been unlucky with that particular brush. The hairs are possibly slightly less resilient in the Lauren Luke brush. These differences are very subtle, but they are there. But they're very, very close when you compare them. Now, the next one then is this one here, which is a blending brush, a round blending brush. This will automatically remind you of the MAC 222, but in fact, the shape of it is probably more like the MAC 224 because it's a slightly bigger brush than the 222. If you see, the Lauren Luke brush is a little bit bigger, and so it's kind of in between the 222 and the 224, because the 222 is much more tapered than the this one here, and so I'd say it's kind of in between the two. Obviously, of course, these two are both white goat hair, and this is probably squirrel or something. I'm not sure what that is. Now, again, there's the 222, there's the 220, this is the Lauren Luke brush. So you can see this has a lot more bounce, for want of a better word, than this one. This one is just splaying away under my fingers. The 224 does the same thing. So it definitely more closely resembles the 224. And does it do the same job? I think it does. I think it works pretty well. It's a nice blending brush. It's a tiny bit less dense than either the 222 or the 224. Tiny bit less dense, but only marginally. You're probably not going to notice that so much when you use it. It's a good blending brush, so yeah, I think it stands up pretty well against the other two. The next one then is, oh dear, I've done it again, I've left one out, excuse me. I always come to the table missing some really important item that I want to talk about. The next one then is this flat shading brush, and again, no prizes for guessing what this is supposed to resemble. This is the MAC 239, and you can see they are similar. Again, Lauren Luke one is the one with the pink ferrule. Now these, when you look at them side by side, they're pretty similar as well. Very little difference between them, really. The Lauren Luke brush has slightly longer bristles, both made of goat hair, so both quite soft. You know, there's no real difference in terms of softness, in terms of the actual bounciness, what I call the bounciness of the brush. There's no major difference. Again, the hair is possibly slightly less strong in those brushes. There is a little bit more give in that direction, but other than that, they are very similar. Does it perform as well? I think it probably does. I do think that the 239 probably picks up a little bit more product. Why is that? I'm not totally sure. It may be because the 239 is a flatter brush on top. The Lauren Luke brush is just a little bit more curved on top. So maybe that's why. I don't know why else that would be, but they do perform slightly differently, but only slightly. They are pretty close, and they are made of the same hair, and so I mean they're bound to perform in a very similar way. So that's those two. Now the last one, it's the second last one of the sort of MAC type brushes that she has in her set, is this little pencil brush, And so of course there's the MAC 219. Now these are quite different brushes. When I first got this, it was quite pointed, but after a couple of washes, it's become kind of more rounded on top. And the MAC 219, this is a well-worn brush, but it still comes to a nice point, even after washing and using many, many times. Okay, this is a brush you want to be firm. Okay, you want your pencil brush to be firm because you're smudging with it. You're applying small amounts of colour to a very small area, more than likely, with this brush. So you want this to behave like a pencil. You want it to stay in shape as you're using it, because you don't want to display and put colour all over the place where you only want it in a very specific spot. So it's important that this brush does not bounce much under your fingers. So that's what's happening with the 219. This is what's happening with the Lauren Luke brush. If you can see, there's a little bit more give in this brush than there is in this one. The bristles are not as strong in this brush, and it's a little bit less dense. So I think, although it works and it's good, I think as a pencil brush, the 219 is probably a bit better. Though, look, I mean, you know, you certainly would use this to good effect. But yeah, there's definitely a discernible difference between these two brushes. So that's those. Then there's this little one here, which is the contouring. It's called a flat contouring brush. And there it is there. And it's a nice face brush. And immediately I'm put in mind of the 109 from MAC. And they're the two together. So the differences between them. The MAC 109 is by far, it's a lot more dense now. It does shed, it's notorious for shedding. This does shed a bit, but I love my 109. I love it for contouring, for applying foundation. I just think for cream products of any sort, I really think the 109 is one of the best brushes you can use. That's just my opinion. Does this brush do the same thing? It pretty much does. I mean, even though it's not as dense, it's a slightly different shape. It's more flat on the top, where this is more kind of rounded. It still does a pretty good job. It hasn't shed at all so far, but it's not bad. It's a good contouring brush. It's a good blusher brush. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And even for foundation, I imagine it probably will do a good job. I haven't actually applied foundation with it yet, but I will at some point and let you know how I get on. But there you go. They're reasonably close brushes. There they are, head on. And you can see it's definitely not as dense, but it's not bad. Then there's two that don't have, this one does not have a dupe in MAC. And this is the foundation brush, and this is more like a smaller version of the round Louise Young brush, Louise Young foundation brush, which is a rounded synthetic domed brush. And I think this is probably one of the best, this is one of the ones I like the best in the set because it's different. And it's very soft, it's quite nice, rounded tip, synthetic. It's a really, really nice, good brush and great for applying foundation. And you could also apply any sort of product. You could apply powder products with this just as easily. You could do contouring with it. You could use it for cream blush. You could use it for lots of things. I like this. I think it stands out from the rest as being something different and original, and something that is not just a copy of something else. So for that, I would commend this brush. I really do think it's excellent. Then the powder brush is just a big, nice fluffy powder brush, very soft, not too dense, but you don't really want these kind of brushes to be too dense, because, you know, if you're applying powder or bronzer or whatever with it, you don't want to pick up too much product at once. So that's what it looks like. It's just a nice standard powder brush. Powder brushes are the easiest ones to pull off, I think. So it's pretty nice. So, okay, what do I think overall? I think it's a good set. I think if you don't, I mean, to buy the equivalent in MAC brushes would cost you a hell of a lot more money. So if you want a good set of brushes that is not going to cost you a fortune, I think, yeah, it's a good place to start. They are natural hair, so if you're anti-animal hair brushes, then you won't like these. But I personally don't mind, so I'm just one of those savage people who don't mind having animal hair in their brushes. But I think, yeah, I don't think it's a bad set at all. Quite nice. The quality is good. The ferrules are very firmly attached. The handles are nice. They handle well. They're nice to hold. They're nice to use. The one thing I would say, and one major problem I had with the brushes, with these ones, and this is a problem you're going to have with any brushes that are made with this white goat hair, is that when I washed them first, I used water and sort of baby shampoo. They splayed like nothing I've ever seen before. They really were all over the place. They completely lost their shape. The hairs went everywhere, and I was really very, very annoyed about that. So what I did was I used the brush guards, put the brush guards on the brushes, and still, even after a day, they still hadn't come back to their proper shape. So I had to re-wet them, put the brush guards on again, and then what I did was I took the little plastic tubes, you know, the way when you get brushes first, they usually have little plastic tubes over them. I put the plastic tubes over the tops of the brush guards to push the brush guards in against the bristles of the brush to bring the brushes back to shape. And that's what I had to do to get these back into shape again. So I do think the quality of the hair in these brushes is not quite as good as the quality in the equivalent MAC brushes. Even though, you know, you will get splaying with these as well, it is easier to train the bristles back into shape with these than it was with these. Now what I did subsequently was I used my Cinema Secrets brush cleaner on these brushes and avoided putting water on them at all, and they behaved themselves perfectly well. So I would steer away from using watery cleansers or cleaning them in water. Use, you know, a cleanser like say the MAC brush cleanser or something, or the Cinema Secrets brush cleaner, which I have and I use all the time. Something more alcohol or spirit based, because it just seems to cause less splaying. Because I mean, if you bought these and you didn't have brush guards and you wash them in water, they could be unusable after that. So that would be my advice. That's the only thing I would say against using these brushes. The quality of the hair is good, but it's not as good as you're going to get in your MAC brushes. They are slightly less quality, but the cost is a lot less. So what do you expect? I think they're good. I think they're worth having if you treat them carefully, as I've described. Are they worth the money? I think they are. I've spent more on brushes that were not half as good as these. They are not synthetic, so that's going to be a bit of a minus for some people. But overall, yeah, I think they're probably pretty good. So hats off to Lauren. She's certainly done well with these brushes, I think. You know, yeah, they are MAC knockoffs basically, but you know, they're good MAC knockoffs. So that's my assessment of the brushes. If you've got any questions, let me know. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.